Good evening, everyone. It's Monday evening, 7:30, July 28th, and welcome to this month's Author's Pen video blog post. The topic for tonight is two words, one phrase, I'm sorry. The question is, does I'm sorry oftentimes come with a but? So let's think about that. When you say I'm sorry, why are you saying it? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. Most of the times we say I'm sorry, it's because we feel we have done something wrong. Now, the problem with those two words, that one simple phrase, is that if it's overused or if it's said too much, then it loses its meaning. What's even worse about that phrase is if it's said in a way that it comes with a but. Like, I'm sorry, but. Now, is it sincere? So the whole trick to the two words, I'm sorry, means it has to come across sincerely. Now, we're all human beings. Every single one of us makes mistakes from time to time. God, if I had $1 for every mistake I made in my life, I would be rich today. And I'm sure you all fit into that same category. Actually, statistics show that 1 out of every 10 decisions we make are going to be wrong. That's just simply a fact of life. The problem is a couple of fold. First, we don't think before we speak, especially when there's an argument or a discussion that becomes heated. That's why many years ago, I said to my significant other, there's going to be no arguing, there's going to be no fighting. If we can't come to something with a relatively quick resolution, then we're going to put it aside, but we're not going to argue about it, because it's inevitable that one of the two of us is going to say something we don't mean. And there's another phrase that is very true in life, and that is, once you say something, you can't take it back. Because the schools of thought are, when you're angry and you say something, are you saying it out of anger, or are you so angry that what you really mean is coming out? So when you say something to another person and then apologize for it later, trust me, most people don't forget that. So the first way to correct the overusage of I'm sorry is to think about what you say before you say it and make sure that's really what you want to say. So you don't have to worry about explaining it or taking it back. And if you did do or say something that you didn't mean to say and you're going to apologize for it, when you say I'm sorry, make it sincere. Make sure the other person knows, hey, I really didn't mean to say that. I said it out of anger, and I'm really sorry for it. Don't do it by following it up with excuses, such as, I'm sorry, but if you didn't do that. So you see what's happening? You're now taking the responsibility of what you should be doing and pointing the blame at someone else for what you did. So you're not owning your responsibility. That's why in my advertisement for this blog post, I said, suck it up, Buttercup. If you did something wrong, step up to the plate and admit you did something wrong. People could forgive you for most of the things you do wrong if you present it to them sincerely and you realize you were wrong. But let me tell you what really eats at my craw. What really eats at me is you see all these social media posts that sports figures or politicians or someone may make, someone that has some degree of notoriety, and everybody flips out over it, and then all of a sudden, when they see their popularity is now in question, they come out with this bogus, lame, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Well, you know what? If we're having a discussion and you say something and something blurts out, I get it, all right? And you could kind of say to me, I didn't mean to say it because I was angry, and I'll accept that. But when you have taken the time to write something down, which means you had plenty of time to read it, and almost every one of us that posts something on social media, we reread it before we actually hit the post button. So they know damn well what exactly they're saying. Well, you know what? Own it. Take responsibility for it. Don't come back the next day and try and apologize for it because you think you're either going to lose political standing, you're going to lose friends, or you possibly may anger your fans, because that is not a sincere apology. Now you're just saying, I'm sorry, because you're doing damage control. And damage control doesn't work for me, all right? You're either sincere in your apology or you're not. So when you have the opportunity to write something down, read it before you send it out, there's no apologizing for that. At least not in my opinion. So what does all of this boil down to at the end of the day? At the end of the day, probably, I would venture to say, in my opinion, 60 or 70% of the things that you've said that you feel a need to clarify or apologize for, you should never have had to apologize, because you should either A, not let it get to that point that you're going to say something you don't mean, or B, think about what the hell is coming out of your mouth before the words leave your lips. Because everything has consequences. Every decision you make, every choice you make, every word you say, everything comes with consequences. The problem is most people do not think about the consequences. You know, and it's similar to people who always have to get the last word in. And I'll admit, maybe one of my character flaws is there's times I feel that I need to get that last word in. I got to have the last say. And do you really need to? Was the point actually made? So you get involved in a discussion and you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it never comes to an end, because both people have to get that last word in. If someone wants to leave a comment and tell me why that last word is so important, I'd love to hear it, because it really isn't. Once you come to a resolution on something, who gives a damn who had the last word, or who had something to say last? The important thing is you resolved it and you came to an amicable agreement about it. So my take-home message for tonight's video blog post, because we're seeing this and we're hearing it all the time on social media. We hear it all the time on the news. You know, I like to watch various news networks. I like to do that because, let's face it, the news media and nowadays is biased. And I want to hear everybody's side and everybody's view, because somewhere in the middle is where the truth lies. All right? A media network that leans to the right is not always right, and one who leans to the left is not always right. That's why I don't have any political party affiliations. I just don't believe in the political party system. I vote for the person that I think could do the job. So I want to hear both sides, and then I'll try and disseminate where in the middle the truth lies. So, again, when you watch the news the way I do, to keep on top of current events or find out what people's views are, whatever the case may be, you always see it, the caption on the top. This is what this person said. And then 2 days later, they're taking it back and apologizing for it. Why? Because the flack they got is so heavy that they need to do damage control. So you know what? When you're saying I'm sorry for damage control, as I said earlier, that means absolutely nothing to me and holds absolutely no weight. I take what you said for what you said, and you can't take it back. So I guess the take-home message here is think before you speak. Be sure what you say is what you want to say. And most importantly, say it in a manner the way the other person or people in general are going to perceive it, because everything in life is about perception. No two people perceive things exactly the same way. I know what I mean when I say something. The question there, though, is, am I presenting that to you in a way that you're going to understand the way I mean what I said, or are you going to perceive it your own way? And that doesn't make either person right or wrong. It just makes it a fact of life. People have their own perceptions. So if you're having a conversation, don't beat around the bush. Get directly to the point. There's a lot of ways to tell someone to go to hell. There's a lot of ways to tell people to shut their mouth. You don't want to talk about it anymore. So the general rule is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you need to say things in a manner to make what you mean and what you're trying to say perfectly clear. And in any conversation or any discussion, you always have to have one simple ground rule. This is the only ground rule you really need to have. And that is, if I ever say anything that you're not sure what I meant, ask me to clarify it. Because when I sit here and say to you, think about what you say before you say it, the reality is, we can't do that with every word that comes out of our mouth 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's going to be times that some things may need clarification, and you want to make sure the people you're having a discussion with understand that it's okay to say, oh, wait a minute. Think about what you just said, because this is the way I'm taking it. Is that the way you meant it, or do you want to clarify it? And if they do that, don't feel insulted, because you might have saved yourself days of arguing and having to buy flowers so you don't have to sleep on the couch anymore, or a box of candy, or whatever it takes to get your rear end out of the doghouse. All right? And like I said, the other side of the coin of this video blog post is the social media aspect. All right? Social media is the number one way that we all get our thoughts and what we believe and our opinions and whatnot out to the rest of the world, to our friends or whatever. But remember, you have an excellent opportunity with social media. And that opportunity is to write a post, take a step back, sit back in your chair and read it. If it's something you're writing out of anger, think to yourself, is that really what you want to post? Is that really what you want to say? Because there's a lot of times I see things posted and I'll make comments to them, especially from different news medias that I follow and whatnot. And I find myself writing a very derogatory post or comment because whatever was said just infuriates me. And that is not the time to do it. The time to do it is when that anger is past. But again, like I said earlier, the great thing about social media is you have the opportunity to sit back, and before you hit that button to post that comment, you can reread it and you can make the decision to yourself, is that really what I want to say? So it's all about communications, how we communicate, and how we use the words we use and the phrases we use. But I will tell you this, if you are the type of person that finds yourself having to say the two words or the phrase, I'm sorry, then you're doing something wrong. There's a method of communication that you're not doing correctly or you're missing. And you need to work on that and you need to fix that. Nobody can do that for you. It becomes a little bit of self-evaluation. And if you're going to apologize for something, don't put an inference of a but. Don't try and own, or I should say, don't make an attempt to make someone think you're taking responsibility for what you said by pointing the blame on them that caused you to say it. Because we are an intelligent species, all right? And we have the ability to analyze what we hear and decide how we're going to respond to it. And don't think I don't get into disagreements and arguments with people, my significant other, family members. I most certainly do. But before I respond in a derogatory manner, I may say to them, did you hear what you just said to me? Because this is the way I took it. And then repeat it to them and say, now, is that the way you want me to take it, or would you like to clarify it before we go any further? And I will tell you this, at least from my own personal experience, that works every single time. And if you're having a conversation and that doesn't work, then that is a huge red flag to tell you that now's the time to put your weapons down, stop the argument, and table the discussion for another time. Those are my thoughts on the two words in the phrase, I'm sorry. Any comments are gratefully appreciated. Again, with my weekly written blog, I love suggested topics. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see my website, and you'll also see my email contact. If there's anything you'd like to see me talk about, shoot me an email direct. You could go to my website, look at all my blogs, and I ask everyone, please feel free to subscribe to my blog. Your information is totally safe. We do not share or sell our email list to anyone. So your information is private and doesn't go anywhere. So don't not subscribe because you think your email address is going to wind up all over the place, because it will not. With that, I wish you all a good evening. God bless, stay safe, and be well. Thank you.